Have you ever fallen for someone who seemed perfect at first, but left you questioning your own worth? You thought it was love. But what if it was just your emotions betraying you? What if I told you that ancient Stoic philosophy, the same wisdom followed by emperors and warriors, warned us about exactly these kinds of people? Today, I'm going to walk you through 7 types of toxic crushes you must avoid. And trust me, if you recognize these red flags early, you can save yourself years of pain and confusion. So before we dive in, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me till the end of this video. What you learn today could quite literally reshape your love life forever. Let's begin with a story. Arman and Layla met in the late fall. She was charming, self-assured, stunning, and just the right amount of enigmatic to keep him on his toes. Hers passed while they conversed. His heart would accelerate when she sent late-night texts, laughed at his jokes, and lightly touched his arm. It had been years, but Arman finally felt like he'd found someone genuine. However, she vanished without a trace. I don't understand. Farewell not meant. Missing resolution. The messages ceased. No one picked up the phone. She seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Weeks down the road, he spotted her on Instagram, giggling in the embrace of another. That evening, Arman went into a tailspin. He was more than simply devastated. Anger, humiliation, and confusion consumed him. There, the stoic wisdom of the Stoics may have rescued him. 1. The ghost. Have you ever crossed paths with someone who made your heart race, just to disappear as if they never were? Come with me while I immerse you in a tale. Perhaps it will be yours. An acquaintance or a dating app might introduce you to a potential partner. There is an electric energy in the initial few exchanges. They express themselves correctly. You engage in late-night texting. You break into an idiotic grin as you stare at your phone. You start to envision a future too. Going on dates is like being in a movie. You won't believe the chemistry. Nobody has ever felt this attached to someone before, they say. And right as you're about to let your guard down, their whereabouts are no longer known. Farewell not meant. I don't understand. No sound at all. Patience is required. It seems like you do a lot of thinking. Have I spoken something incorrectly? Let me try texting again. Maybe they're simply preoccupied. But secretly, you're aware, they've gone silent on you. You are not alone if that hit you like a repressed memory. Even more so in today's dating scene, when potential suitors are always only a swipe away. Many of us have been ghosted. Keep in mind, nevertheless, what the Stoics would have you do. Our perceptions of events, rather than events themselves, are what disturb us. Epictetus. Even if it may be a revelation, ghosting might still seem like rejection. That you weren't enough isn't why they disappeared. Since they were never truly present, they just disappeared. Their love was more like a show than anything else, a play. Affection that is fleeting and not meant to last. The true question today is, what is causing you pain? Because they departed? Or maybe it's because you imagined so much about them that you just couldn't let go. The pain of being ghosted is real, folks. Your sense of self-worth is diminished, left behind, as if there were never a fitting conclusion to your tale. What I really need you to accomplish, though, is this. Raise your hands over your heart and recall the first time it broke. The agony, the bewilderment. I couldn't sleep that night. But see, it sounds like you made it. This place still has you, for the better, more intelligent. And the next time it happens, you'll be able to see the specter before they drag you down. If you've been ghosted, I see you. So to everyone viewing right now, I can relate. Above all else, I admire you for making it through something so intimate. Keep an eye out, since this is only the beginning. The next thing you know, it may be someone you've met before. So with a bragger. Now be honest with me. When were the last times you felt completely unnoticed in a group discussion, where the other person always managed to turn the conversation around to be about them? Allow me to introduce you to Leo. Charming was Leo. The type of man who could command attention the moment he entered a room. His charismatic demeanor and commanding presence gave the impression that he was someone of great importance. He reminisced about his time in Italy, a modeling deal he turned down, and the elite parties he attended in New York and London as a VIP. Everything was so, that is remarkable. And for a little while, Emma, the girl who had feelings for him, felt extraordinary. That is, until she had a terrible epiphany. Never once did Leo inquire as to her personal life. Her aspirations, her anxieties, her tales, all of it was meaningless. This wasn't a romance in which two individuals blossomed into one. There was a performance and an audience. In relation to Leo, here is what Marcus Aurelius would have to say. Stop wasting time trying to define the qualities of an ideal human being. Try to be unique. Being modest is a mystery to the bragger. His main skill is to make an impression. He uses your adoration as a means to sustain his inflated ego. Since he is hooked to the spotlight, you misunderstand him. He's actually rather self-conscious. He needs people's attention so much because he feels inadequate when he's alone. Plus, at some point, being in the same room will still make you feel lonely. Recall, have you ever been in a relationship with someone similar? They lifted your spirits for a week, a month, or even longer. But as soon as the compliments ceased, they began to fade. Do you feel the agony? Simply put, you weren't in the market for an entertainer. You sought a companion. The bragger, meanwhile, will always prioritize himself. Not because he despises you, but because he hasn't mastered self-love without praise, and so cannot love another person sincerely. So where do you stand? When you talk, you should be heard. Someone who sees you for who you are, rather than only what they resemble. Do not scroll away if this is relevant to you. We have a ways to go. Discover 5 additional kinds of toxic relationships. Perhaps one of them can shed light on the reasons behind the emotional wounds from your previous partnership that you have avoided discussing. Hear me out. You might think of this as a roadmap to your heartache, not a simple list. 3. The humiliator. May I inquire of you something? Have you ever been in love with someone whose laughter brought a smile to your face, but you couldn't help but wonder if they were laughing at you or with you? Allow me to fill you in on Jacob. Tasha was a confident, humorous, and outspoken girl he met. Her charisma could light up whatever space she entered. What about Jacob? He was the reserved, contemplative sort. His affection was profound. Birthdays, inside jokes, and favorite songs were just a few of the minor details that he recalled. At first, it seemed enchanted. It seemed lighthearted as they laughed and bantered, up until the day it stopped. In front of her friends, Tasha joked about Jacob's employment at a party, saying something along the lines of, well, he's not exactly a go-getter, but he's cute. The joke was a hit. Jacob, too, found himself laughing, though he didn't find it humorous. Laughing was more comfortable than feeling embarrassed, so he did it. From that point on, it continued, little jabs, caustic remarks, public put-downs disguised as just teasing. Have you been there before? When someone makes fun of you in order to make you feel insignificant, and you try to speak out, they respond with, relax, I'm just joking. The humiliator is that guy. Worst of all, it's difficult to understand. Reason being, they express their affection for you. Not all of them are nasty. They even express regret and tears on occasion. Still, with each interaction, you feel less heard and more like the center of attention. However, listen up, you're not. Character, not charisma, is what matters most according to Stoic philosophy. Epictetus remarked, to be truly free, one must first be master of one's own life. The humiliator has lost any sense of self-control. You are the object of their superiority complex, in order to hide their own feelings of inadequacy. And I'll tell you what, that isn't affection. Emotional deterioration is that. Now is the time to ask yourself, has your ex ever treated you like a punchline? Were they being harsh beneath a mask of sarcasm? If that's the case, end it. You are not required to demonstrate your value. Before they cast doubt on your self-confidence, you must recall your true self. You were sufficient. You remain. If it reminded you of something you've been attempting to put out of your mind, hear me out. Let's delve a bit farther. The following category might be much more pertinent to the source of your ongoing emotional distress. 4. The bully. All right, let's delve even farther. Also, I have a question for you that might be a little uncomfortable. How often have you stayed with someone out of pure fear of the consequences of breaking up with them? Are you more concerned about the shame, the emotional fallout, and the subsequent quiet than you are about your own safety? Maya experienced it. After a devastating split, she was at a very vulnerable point in her life when she met Chris. Initially, he appeared to be guarding, passionate, strong. His power transformed into control in no time. He advised her to cover up since he disapproved of her attire. To prevent her from spending time with her male friends, he said, if you respect me, you won't. She attempted to tell him how she felt, but he would always cut her off, distort what she says, place the blame on her. Oh, and when she was furious, he would utter, you're too sensitive. You always overreact. The bully is that guy. Additionally, bullies can be subtle. Not every time do they get angry or smash stuff. Sometimes they simply gradually drain your energy, feeling guilty about it, with blame, in the midst of absolute quiet. And the Stoics would have said, the things themselves do not trouble us, but our evaluations of them do. Your confidence in your own judgment will be shaken by the bully. You may begin to feel that you are the one causing the issue. Perhaps things will improve if you simply put forth more effort, love more, and have more patience. In reality, though, there is no mate in sight for the bully. They are seeking command. You get more and more lost the longer you remain. Now I want to know whether you've ever been in a relationship where you were unable to express yourself honestly, as if your demands were consistently too much, like when love turned into a dangerous location instead of a secure haven? If so, you get my point, and you deserve better than to be on edge all the time to appease other people. Brother or sister, peace should be yours. Also, you should know that staying is not your fault. Simply said, when your love for another person is genuine, you will find ways to justify their pain. However, self-abandonment and loyalty are not the same thing. Leaving with your soul unbroken is the strongest thing you can do, and if you have known the anguish of manipulation, shame, and self-shrinkage, then remain with me. More healing is required of us. 5. The cheater. I must inquire of you something that may cause fresh pain. Have you ever been in love with someone who constantly put you in your place, made you feel inadequate, and then proceeded to prove it? Infidelity destroys more than simply trust. It destroys very identity. And if you've ever been betrayed, you understand completely. Allow me to introduce you to Sarah. Deeply she loved. She risked it everything. Her devotion, her time, and her emotions. Love was holy to her, and she believed it wholeheartedly. Dylan, her lover, had a magnetic personality. All the people adored him. They were envious of her. As far as the eye could tell, everything was flawless. But indoors, the delayed responses were heralded, the coded writings, passwords were changed without warning, odors of a foreign fragrance that wasn't hers. She probed for details. Gaslighted, he duped her. You're paranoid. You're overthinking again. You always assume the worst. But eventually, the facts surfaced. It broke her self-confidence to bits when it happened, for the simple reason that nobody ever tells you this when you're cheated on. They betrayed you, but that's not all. The focus then shifts to you doubting your value. Would you say I wasn't beautiful enough? Did I fail to excite you enough? Is there anything I did incorrectly? Allow me to interrupt you immediately. No, you were completely innocent. You are not flawed. The betrayal of the cheater is a reflection of their character. According to Stoic thought, one's deeds, not their words, indicate the true character of a person. Stop wasting time debating the qualities of a decent man. Just be yourself. Marcus Aurelius. Do not cheat if you want a decent companion. No true romantic would ever lay in one bed while plotting their escape to another. The betrayal isn't the only thing you're dealing with, though. I know. It's the longing for a love that was once genuine. Good times are etched in your memory. The gentle caresses, the noise of the laughing, the late hours spent conversing. The question then arises, was it ever genuine? Presenting the solution, the answer is yes for you. Truthfully, you adored. And that is an asset, not a liability. Remember this if you're attempting to put a cheater out of your mind. Because you were inadequate, they refrained from cheating. They were too weak to bear the burden of true love, so they cheated. Give that some thought. Stay with me because we haven't finished yet if you're still carrying that anguish. There's one more kind, and they're not as obvious since they're not as loud. 6. The manipulator. Is there a time in your relationship when something seemed to be amiss the whole time, but what were you unable to clarify? In which you repeatedly expressed regret, even if you were confused about your actions? When you danced for peace, did you feel like a puppet? A manipulator, that is. Not even shouting, cheating, or ghosting can bring them power. One thing is key: control. Allow me to present Jason to you. Jason saw Lily at a bookshop. It sounds so sweet, doesn't it? Calm, thoughtful, and kind, he talked softly. Her fall was rapid. Without interrupting, he listened, boosted her thoughts, delivered the speech she had been longing for. However, over time, a change occurred. He began to doubt her choices. Subtly, do you truly wish to wear that? Or, do you consider her a trustworthy friend? She whispers negative things about you to others. It was deliberate and not immediately apparent. She had no idea he was isolating her. By his actions, she began to question her own abilities. Moreover, when she attempted to depart, cried out in pain, expected shift, accused his upbringing, claimed he would crumble in her absence. Still, she lingered, once more, time and again. It wasn't until she glanced at herself in the mirror that she realized she hadn't changed. Have you ever been in this situation? Where did you stay with someone who caused you so much stress, confusion, and exhaustion, and still managed to make you feel like it was your fault? That's manipulating them emotionally. Additionally, the invisibility of the wounds makes it one of the most difficult types of abuse to detect. However, Stoicism provides an alternative. How to get your bearings again. I will gladly change my ways if someone can prove to me that my thoughts and actions are wrong. Marcus Aurelius. The manipulator's goal is dominance, not transformation. They bind your affection with an invisible string. Plus, being kind to others might end up shackling you. However, the reality is, you are free to leave a confusing situation. Select order over disorder if you so want. Being managed does not make you weak. On the contrary, it makes you powerful. For the simple reason that you have persisted through it all, mending wounds and gaining wisdom. Permit me to ask you once again, do you still have feelings for someone who deceived you in the past? Do you hold yourself responsible for the way another person hurt you? If so, you will benefit greatly from this sermon and this series as they focus on healing. Remain by my side, for the simple reason that this tale is far from finished. We still have one more harmful kind to reveal. On top of that, it may be the most perilous one. Chi, the almost lover. I have a question for you and I want you to tell the truth. Is it possible to fall in love with someone who never formally picked you, yet also refused to abandon you? The type who said, even though we're not officially dating, I value you greatly. Or, I'm afraid I'll lose you if we get too serious right now, but I'm not ready. Yeah, the almost lover is that person. Also, allow me to describe them to you. Since they failed to provide you with a satisfactory resolution, these types of heartbreak pose the greatest threat. You found hope in them. Let me fill you in on the story of Ava and Chris. While Chris was going through a difficult time, he met Ava. She radiated warmth, kindness, and magnetism, but she remained slightly emotionally detached. She would sneak up on him at 2 a.m. armed with food, kiss his forehead and murmur, "You're my safe place." She would shift the conversation away from what they were whenever. Chris attempted to bring it up. It doesn't need a name. Something serious isn't necessary for me right now. Let's savor the now, shall we? Thus, Chris remained. To commit to a situationship, he offered her relationship energy. He was her therapist, her emotional support system, her go-to guy at 3 a.m, and everything else she needed except a partner. Plus, she had an innate sense that he loved her. She was smitten by his affection for her. However, her love for him was never strong enough to urge her to select him. So that's your backstory. I want to know whether you've ever been trapped in that almost moment. Which is worse, losing someone you care about, or never having the opportunity to be chosen? According to Stoicism, we should not worry about things over which we have no control. If you let go of the need for everything to happen the way you want it to, and instead focus on hoping that things unfold according to plan, you'll find that life flows more smoothly. Epictetus. The fact that they passed on you doesn't mean you lost. Picking someone who could only offer you bits and pieces of their heart was a losing proposition. It is not love. It's like being emotionally starved. And this is something I want you could comprehend on a profound level. Your intensity was just right. You remained composed. It was not an unreasonable request. You just approached the incorrect individual. For that reason, you should cut ties with anyone who messages you at night saying, "I miss you," yet never shows up during the day. Because squandering years of love on someone who falls short is the most tragic thing that can happen. I adore you with all my heart. Hold on tight. No near misses. The word someday is inappropriate. You are chosen by true love every single day, regardless of circumstances. If you're grieving the loss of a loved one who never truly said goodbye, or if you're sobbing at this very moment, you have found closure in this very second in this video. Pause for a moment. Discard it. This narrative has nothing to do with them. Your journey back to self-discovery, following a period of being consumed by another's, hesitation was the central focus throughout. Final thoughts. Why do we keep falling for these poisonous kinds? because they bring up an old unexplored memory, an unspoken longing, or a dread. However, avoiding love is not central to Stoic philosophy. Choosing intelligently is the key. Pick those that provide calm instead of mayhem, who communicate with honesty, not manipulation, who empower, not degrade. There is no battleground for love. It's a reflection. Furthermore, you cease pursuing those who fail to acknowledge your value once you have a firm grasp on it. You are not alone if you can relate to any of these 7 poisonous crushes. Nobody is perfect. But you're also smarter now. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.